Welcome to Global World Watch. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. A new front has opened in the ongoing global trade skirmishes, a development that's sending ripples through international markets and boardrooms alike. The world has grown accustomed to trade disputes, but this latest confrontation signals a deeper, more complex shift in the way nations interact on the global stage. This time, the tension is between Beijing and Ottawa, two countries whose economic ties have long been seen as mutually beneficial, but are now under severe strain. On November 22, 2025, China announced sweeping new tariffs on $2.6 billion worth of Canadian goods. This sudden move sent shockwaves through the Canadian export sector, as businesses scrambled to assess the impact and governments rushed to respond. But this isn't just an economic maneuver, it's a clear political escalation. By imposing these tariffs, China is signaling that trade is no longer just about goods and services. It's a powerful tool in the arsenal of international diplomacy, a weapon to be wielded in broader disputes. For Canada, a nation whose prosperity is deeply tied to its ability to export natural resources and agricultural products, the shock is immediate and profound. From the golden canola fields of the prairies to the sprawling timber mills of British Columbia, the effects are being felt across the country. These tariffs are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They target Canada's most vital sectors, threatening thousands of jobs and the livelihoods of entire communities. Small towns that rely on exports are bracing for tough times as uncertainty looms over their economic future. This dispute is more than a bilateral spat, it highlights a global shift. Major powers are increasingly using economic leverage to pursue political goals, blurring the lines between commerce and conflict. The world is becoming more unpredictable as alliances shift and old certainties dissolve. Economic interdependence, once celebrated as a source of global stability and peace, is now revealed as a double-edged sword. The same connections that brought prosperity can quickly turn into vulnerabilities. Partners can become adversaries almost overnight, and trust can evaporate in an instant. This story is about much more than tariffs or trade balances. It's about power, diplomacy, and the fragile nature of our interconnected world. As nations jockey for influence, the rules of engagement are changing, and the consequences are felt far beyond the negotiating table. As we dig deeper into this unfolding saga, we'll see how a single trade dispute can shake the very foundations of global order, reminding us that in today's world, economic decisions are never just about economics. They are about who holds power, who sets the rules, and who pays the price when the balance shifts. China's tariff list is no accident. It's a calculated and deliberate strike at the very core of Canada's export economy. By carefully selecting which products to target, China is sending a powerful message, aiming to inflict maximum economic pain on key Canadian industries that rely heavily on access to the Chinese market. Take canola, for example, a staple crop of the Canadian prairies and a major export to China. With the imposition of steep new duties, Canadian farmers now face the grim prospect of unsold surpluses piling up and prices dropping sharply. For many rural communities, canola isn't just a crop, it's the backbone of their local economies, supporting thousands of jobs and family farms. Pork and beef exports, which once enjoyed booming demand in China, are now in jeopardy. These tariffs threaten to shut Canadian meat producers out of one of their most lucrative markets overnight, putting at risk not only farmers, but also workers in processing plants and the broader supply chain. The forestry sector, a lifeline for British Columbia and other provinces, is also under fire. Tariffs on timber and wood pulp could lead to mill closures, layoffs, and a ripple effect through communities that depend on forestry for their livelihoods. Mining isn't spared either. Essential minerals, critical for China's vast manufacturing sector, now face new trade barriers. This not only threatens mining jobs, but also impacts Canada's reputation as a reliable supplier of raw materials. Even Canadian seafood and a wide range of manufactured goods are caught in the crossfire. From lobster to machinery, these products now face uncertain futures, broadening the economic pain to coastal communities and industrial centers alike. China's strategy is clear. Target goods it can easily source from other countries, maximizing pressure on Canada, while minimizing disruption to its own economy. By diversifying its suppliers, China ensures it can weather the trade dispute with minimal inconvenience. For Canadian businesses, the message is stark and unsettling. The Chinese market, once a pillar of growth, can no longer be counted on as a stable or reliable partner. Exporters are left scrambling to find new buyers and markets. The impact is immediate and far-reaching, forcing entire industries to rethink their strategies, adapt to new realities, and confront an uncertain future. For many, the road ahead will require innovation, resilience, and a search for new opportunities beyond China's borders. Why now? The answer lies in geopolitics, not just trade. Canada's recent alignment with a US-led Indo-Pacific alliance and its vocal criticism of China's human rights record have angered Beijing. The tariffs are direct retaliation, a warning to Canada and any nation considering similar moves. China is also accelerating its push to reduce reliance on Western resources, using this moment to test its own economic resilience. By targeting Canada, Beijing signals that siding with its rivals comes with real costs. This is coercive diplomacy in action, with Canada as the example. Canadian farmers are alarmed. Many say they've never faced a challenge quite like this before. The sudden imposition of tariffs has left them feeling anxious and uncertain about the future of their livelihoods. For generations, these farmers have relied on stable export markets. And now, overnight, everything has changed. Years of building ties with China now seem wasted. The relationships, trust, and investments that took decades to establish have been thrown into question, leaving many to wonder if they'll ever recover what's been lost. Many face the prospect of selling at a loss or not selling at all, and are demanding urgent government help. Across rural Canada, frustration is mounting as barns fill with unsold crops and bills pile up. Farmers are organizing protests, calling for immediate action to protect their communities and way of life. Manufacturers and exporters are scrambling to assess losses and find new markets, working around the clock to keep their businesses afloat. They're reaching out to new partners, exploring alternative trade routes, and trying to adapt to a rapidly changing global landscape. Many warn of layoffs and closures if the situation doesn't improve soon. The threat of job losses hangs over entire communities, with workers fearing for their families and futures. Business leaders blame both China's aggression and Ottawa's lack of a clear China strategy. They argue that Canada needs a more robust plan to protect its interests and diversify its trade. The public is divided. Some support standing up to China, believing it's time for Canada to defend its values and sovereignty, even if it means short-term pain. Others worry about rising costs and economic fallout. Everyday Canadians are already feeling the pinch at the grocery store and in their monthly bills, and many fear things could get worse before they get better. The crisis has sparked a national debate. Canadians everywhere are discussing what the country's next move should be, and whether the government is doing enough to protect jobs and the economy. Should Canada prioritize principles or economic security? Experts agree that this is a complex dilemma with no easy answers. The stakes are high, and the decisions made now could shape the country's future for years to come. This is a turning point, a moment that will test Canada's resilience and ability to adapt in a rapidly shifting world. The crisis is exposing Canada's vulnerability to over-reliance on a single market and highlighting the urgent need for diversification. Economists warn of ripple effects across industries and regions, predicting that the impact could be felt for months, if not years to come. Political scientists question Canada's foreign policy options, debating whether the country should seek new alliances or double down on existing partnerships. The tariffs have forced Canada to confront its place in a volatile world, and the choices made now will define the nation's path forward. For Canada, the tariffs mean billions in lost exports, job losses, and a blow to regional economies. Provinces like Saskatchewan and British Columbia will feel the pain most, with GDP growth at risk. The crisis exposes Canada's failure to diversify its trade. Shifting markets won't be quick or easy. China isn't immune. Its consumers and manufacturers will face higher prices and supply disruptions. But Beijing sees these costs as acceptable for achieving bigger political goals. The move is part of a broader strategy to assert economic power and reduce dependence on the West. Both nations will feel the strain, but China is betting it can outlast the pain. The world is watching to see who blinks first. For Prime Minister Trudeau, this is a defining foreign policy crisis. He faces pressure to defend Canadian values and stand up to China, while industries demand quick relief. The government must balance principle with economic reality, a tough political tightrope. The relationship with China, already strained, now seems unlikely to recover soon. Trudeau's leadership is under scrutiny at home and abroad. How he navigates this crisis will shape Canada's China strategy for years. The stakes: economic stability, political credibility, and Canada's global reputation. Canada's response options are limited and risky. Challenging China at the WTO is slow and uncertain, but upholds international rules. Retaliatory tariffs could escalate the conflict, hurting Canadian consumers and businesses. Building alliances with the US, EU, and others offers more leverage, but takes time. Trade diversification is essential, but won't solve the immediate crisis. Quiet diplomacy might de-escalate tensions, but risks looking weak. The government will likely combine these strategies, seeking both short-term relief and long-term resilience. Every choice carries political and economic risks. The path Canada chooses now will define its future in global trade. The world is watching, especially other middle powers wary of China's tactics. Australia, the US, and Europe see Canada's plight as a warning and a test of allied unity. Washington's support could strengthen Canada's hand, but a weak response would embolden Beijing. The dispute adds new uncertainty to global supply chains and commodity markets. Volatility in prices for canola, pork, and timber could ripple worldwide. The crisis exposes cracks in the rules-based trading system. If Canada can be pressured with little recourse, what hope is there for smaller nations? This is a litmus test for the future of global trade and international order. This $2.6 billion tariff fight is about more than trade. It's a clash of politics, power, and economic strategy. China is using economic interdependence as a weapon, sending a message to the world. For Canada, it's a wake-up call to rethink its China policy and diversify its economy. Trudeau's government must balance supporting industries with defending national principles. The choices made now will shape Canada's global role for years. The conflict tests the strength of alliances and the resilience of the global trading system. It raises tough questions. How do nations deal with a superpower that bends the rules? Can trade ever be safe from politics? Understanding this dispute is key to grasping the forces reshaping our world.